My grandfather was a real man's man. Um, he was a fighter, won Golden Gloves a couple years in a row in his younger days, maintained martial arts training. He seemed to always be good at everything. He was one of those guys that would enter in any kind of contest or game, like a game of pool, for example, and he would just beat people. He just beat you in the game. He'd kind of laugh at you and mess with you a little bit after he beat you. You never heard him run his mouth beforehand. You never heard him sit there and tell you, oh, yeah, I used to play pool and this and that, and give you some backstory in preparation for playing you in a game of pool. He just did his own thing. He was very successful in business, owned quite a few things, and you never heard him talk about that stuff and talk about business, try to tell everybody how good he was at any of this stuff. He was really the epitome of don't talk about it, be about it. This is why we don't talk about Fight Club, right? I say Fight Club, I mean what we're doing right here, learning about the sexual marketplace, red pill knowledge, you could call it, understanding women. This is something that as you increase your skill set with women, your sexual market value, even your ability to have sex with women, because you're studying, you're learning, and you're working on it, you never give away how the cookies are made. My grandfather, if he was in an instructional or a teaching mode, he would teach me. But if he wasn't in that mode of teaching somebody something, he was just going to be about it. He wasn't going to talk about it. I don't know if that's generational or if that was just him. I would consider him a pretty alpha guy. So maybe he's a little bit of both. But our society now and our culture, there's a lot more talking about it and a lot less being about it all across the board. Now, here's how that translates from an evolutionary psychology perspective with dealing with women. Women are looking for the best genetic option. So they're looking for the best in genetics, the best in capabilities. This is why women, they just want you to show up and just be it. They're not actually interested in learning how you got to be it. And in fact, if it appears that you're just it because of genetic magic, then that makes them more attracted and aroused by you, and that increases your sexual market value in their eyes. A lot of you guys will try to red pill women, and I find that to be hilarious. It's not that women can't learn evolutionary psychology and learn dating and mating behavior and learn some of these principles, and it's not that. Yes, there's a barrier because of their primal drives, and some of their a female sexual strategy is somewhat based in deception. So there may be some barriers to wanting to believe some of the principles or understand it. But women have working brains just like men do. I mean, they can latch onto the material, but they generally don't want to, though. When it comes down to making their own sexual decisions, they just want it to be. Why is that? Because they're vetting out or choosing the best genetic option. That's why. All of their attraction and arousal, their behaviors, hypergamy, their willingness and wanting to mate with somebody all boils down to trying to vet out a good genetic option for childbearing. All right. More or less. I mean, we have transactional sex that falls in line with that too, which is not so much that, but sex for resources or sex in exchange for things. But we're talking about when they're actually aroused and they have genuine burning desire, that is completely based in who they perceive as being a good genetic mating option for them, a good genetic match to make a baby with. I'll explain this in a different way. Think about women in high heels versus maybe a short guy with shoe lifts. Okay. Women can wear high heels and makes them 3 inches taller, 4 inches taller, and it's fine. It makes their ankles and their butts look a little bit better. It gives them a shape that they don't have if they're standing flat-footed, and it makes them a little bit taller, and it makes them stand more upright, increases their sexual market value. And guys consider the high heels attractive, generally speaking, and we don't bat an eye at that. However, if a woman finds out that a guy is, let's say, 5'5", and then he wears shoe lifts, so his shoes appear to be normal, but on the inside, they're lifted in the heels, and he's 3 inches taller. So he shows up and he's 5'8", but really his actual flat-footed height is 5'5". That is going to be repulsive to women when they find that out. They're going to make fun of him. They're going to say he's insecure. They're going to make jokes about it at the least. At the most, if some girl sleeps with this guy thinking he's 5'8", she may find herself infuriated, feeling like she was catfished and lied to. Why is that? Because women are trying to protect their wombs, to reserve that space for a man of high genetic value to have a baby with. That is their primal chimpanzee brain drive. So that is why women want a guy to show up and just be about it. Let's say you do a bunch of learning and studying on how to get really good at sex. Let's say that's something that you do. She doesn't want you to tell her all about the books you read and the coaching sessions you've done or whatever it is to increase your sexual ability. She wants to think that because you're of such high genetic value, you just show up and you're just a bang machine. When you just turn her on, hit all of her buttons naturally, and magic happens, and she has all of the orgasms, and that's just because you're of such high genetic value that she just can't stop being turned on by you. She may know that you've done, let's say, BDSM scene, or you've done some research and some tantra and all different stuff. She might know that, like logically, but she wants to be able to have cognitive dissonance and push that out in her brain and believe that you just are. You start getting into all of the explanations and the details and telling her how the cookies are made. Your sexual market value starts to drop in her eyes, because it's no longer because you're of high genetic value. It's because of the effort and training that you're putting into your sexual abilities in this case. And I could go through all of it, handling women in game. Women feel deceived when they find out a guy learned pickup skills, because they want you to show up and just naturally, magically have social calibration and just be able to pick them up and have a connection. They want to believe in some higher level of a connection. Horoscope thinking, right? We as men know that we have a burden of performance. We have to put work into everything we do. Women just want you to just show up and be it. And if you start giving them the details by talking about Fight Club, start talking about the courses you took and pickup and the coaching you've had and all this and that and the other, they start to see you as lower genetic value. Your sexual market value drops in her eyes. The point is, don't talk about it, be about it, especially with women. They don't need to know how the cookies are made. They just want you to show up and be it. Thanks for the support.